5 hidden signs that prove you're a dark chosen one, not a spiritual pretender. Have you ever felt like you don't belong in the typical narrative of light and love that dominates modern spirituality? Have you ever looked around at the sea of affirmations, crystals, and smiling faces and thought, there's something deeper than this, something darker, something more real? If you have, then you might be one of the few who are not just walking a spiritual path, but embodying a mysterious and ancient role. In this video, we're diving into the 5 hidden signs that prove you're a dark chosen one, not a spiritual pretender. This will challenge your understanding of what it means to be spiritual. And if you stay with me till the end, you might just discover a truth about yourself that you've always suspected, but never dared to fully accept. Let me start with a story.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
Years ago, I found myself deep in the Himalayan mountains, searching for something I couldn't name. I wasn't looking for enlightenment. I didn't even know what that truly meant. I wanted answers. Not the kind you find in books, but the kind that shakes your soul and rewrites your destiny. I met a monk who hadn't spoken a word in over a decade. When he finally spoke to me, he said only this: "The light you seek is hidden in the darkness you fear." That moment has haunted me ever since, and I want to pass that haunting on to you. You see, the first sign that you're a dark chosen one is this: you're not afraid of your own shadow. In fact, you've made peace with it. While others run from their traumas, you face yours. You understand that healing isn't about slapping a positive vibes, only sticker over your pain. It's about crawling through the dirt of your soul to find the buried truth. You've been through things that would break most people. But instead of letting those things define you, you used them as fuel. Fire doesn't scare you, it makes you. This isn't a path for the faint of heart. The spiritual pretender wants comfort. They want the incense, the mantras, the peaceful music. But you've sat in silence so long it screamed. You've meditated not to escape, but to confront the chaos within. And here's the paradox: by facing your inner storm, you found a strange kind of peace. Not the fluffy peace sold in online courses. The kind of peace that comes from knowing you've survived hell and you're still standing. But here's the second hidden sign: your presence disrupts others. Have you noticed this? Walk into a room and suddenly the energy shifts. People can't explain it. Some are drawn to you like moths to flame. Others recoil without knowing why. You don't even have to speak. There's something in your eyes, a weight, a depth, a knowing that makes people feel naked. It's not because you're trying to make them uncomfortable. It's because your very existence is a mirror. You reflect back the parts of them they haven't faced. And that's terrifying for most. This is the burden and blessing of the dark chosen one people project onto you. They sense your depth, but they don't understand it, so they label it. You're too intense. You're intimidating. You're too serious. But you're not too anything. You're just real. And in a world addicted to shallow appearances, authenticity feels like aggression. Don't shrink. Don't soften your edges to appease the fragile. You were never meant to be palatable. You were meant to be powerful. Now, let's talk about the third sign. This one's a little more subtle, but once you hear it, you'll know it's true. You've always felt watched by something greater, but not in a comforting way. But it's not always angels and guides. Sometimes it feels like the universe has its eye on you in a way that's intense, even heavy. like you're being tested, challenged, pushed beyond what seems fair. Life hasn't just handed you lessons, it's thrown you initiations. And each time you thought you couldn't go further, you did. There's a reason for that. You're not here to follow the path. You're here to forge it. The dark chosen ones are tested more because they're trusted more. The universe doesn't coddle you because it knows what you're capable of. And deep down, so do you. That's why even in your worst moments, you've never fully broken. You may have bent, yes, maybe even shattered, but something in you always rises. That's not coincidence. That's calling. So let me ask you something that might stop you in your tracks. What if the very thing you thought was your curse was actually your crown? What if the pain, the isolation, the darkness you've endured was the initiation ritual no one ever told you about? What if everything you've survived was the universe sculpting you into the exact shape needed for a mission you've yet to fully comprehend? This brings us to the fourth sign: you speak truths others aren't ready to hear. You don't need to say much. Sometimes a few words from you cut through the noise like a blade. People come to you with their problems, not because you give them what they want to hear, but because you give them what they need. There is wisdom in you that didn't come from books. It came from experience, from pain, from silence. You've sat with your demons. You've learned their names, and now you can see through the masks others wear. But this also means people often misunderstand you. You might be called too dark, too cynical, or too intense. That's because you don't sugarcoat life. You see the light, but you also see the rot beneath the surface. You don't pretend the world is perfect. You know it's not. And that makes your love deeper, more honest, more sacred. Here's the final hidden sign for this part. You've always felt like you were preparing for something, but you don't know what. There's a tension in your soul, a quiet urgency. It's as if your life has been a long training ground, but the real battle hasn't started yet. You've felt it since you were young, a sense that your story is part of something bigger. You've had dreams, visions, synchronicities, moments that felt like déjà vu but deeper, like your soul remembering something your mind can't grasp. You've always known you were different, but not in a way that made you superior, just responsible. You were responsible for carrying something ancient, something powerful, something that could change the very fabric of reality if it were fully awakened. And that's what this journey is really about. Not fitting into the spiritual trends, not performing rituals for likes or followers, but becoming what you were sent here to be, a bridge between worlds, a keeper of sacred chaos, a wielder of dark light. So let me leave you with this question. If everything you've endured was preparing you for a sacred mission, are you ready to stop pretending you're normal? Are you ready to become what you truly are? The shadow in the light, why your darkness is sacred. There comes a point on the path, not at the beginning, not even halfway in, but somewhere deep in the marrow of your journey, where you realize something terrifying and liberating at the same time. Your darkness was never your enemy. It was your teacher. Maybe no one told you this before. Maybe they tried to fix you, cleanse you, purify you. But the truth you've been dancing around your whole life is this: your shadow is holy. That's the paradox of the dark chosen one. You were never meant to walk in pure light. You were meant to walk between, to hold both the sacred and the profane in your hands without flinching. The world doesn't understand this. It wants to label things as good or bad, light or dark, healers or villains. But you've transcended those binaries. You've realized that true power is found in integration, not denial. You don't banish your demons, you commune with them. You listen to their rage, their sorrow, their unmet needs. And in doing so, you reclaim parts of yourself that others abandoned. There's something few will ever understand. The deeper your pain, the more ancient your soul. Pain is not random in your life. It's surgical, intentional. It's the chisel that carved your essence out of stone. Do you remember those nights when your chest felt too heavy to carry? When your thoughts spiraled into black holes and no one could hear your silent scream? That wasn't just suffering. That was an initiation. Every time you broke, the universe was whispering good. Now we can reach deeper, because only when your ego fractures can your soul emerge. This is where the spiritual pretenders fall short. They want the rewards of the path without paying the price. They chase the aesthetics of enlightenment, white robes, serene smiles, Instagram mantras without ever bleeding for truth. But you've paid in full, in memories you can't speak of, in losses that took your breath, in lessons that came wrapped in betrayal. And yet here you are, still breathing, still rising. This is not weakness. This is sacred resilience. Have you ever wondered why you seem to attract chaos? Why your life doesn't flow like others? It's not because you're cursed. It's because your soul came here with a different contract. Where others are here to rest, you came to transform. You're an alchemist, not the kind that turns lead into gold, but the kind that turns pain into purpose. That's why your relationships are intense. That's why your solitude is sacred. That's why your silence is thunderous. Because you're not here to fit in, you're here to awaken the sleeping gods within you. And here's where the fifth hidden sign lives. You've mastered the art of rebirth. Most people die once at the end of their life. But you've died 100 deaths, ego deaths, identity deaths, the death of dreams, of illusions, of personas you once wore to survive. And each time you've come back sharper, deeper, quieter. You've learned that endings aren't punishments, they're portals. Every time you thought it was over, something ancient inside you whispered, "It's just beginning." Let me ask you something. What if your pain wasn't meant to be healed, but remembered? What if your scars are mapped to the realm where your true power lives? Think about that. What if your wounds are not obstacles to your enlightenment, but keys to it? You're not here to be saved. You're here to remember that you are the savior. And that changes everything. Your wounds are portals, the sacred power hidden in your pain. There is a strange, almost forbidden truth that most spiritual traditions whisper about but rarely speak aloud. It's the idea that some souls are not just here to learn, but to lead. Not in the way society teaches leadership with titles, applause, or influence. No, this is a deeper, invisible form of leadership. There's spiritual gravity that pulls others into themselves just by being near you. And the third part of this journey is about realizing that you were chosen to become the storm that awakens the sleepers. You see, true spiritual power isn't loud. It doesn't need to shout or convince, but it moves in silence, in symbols, in moments that can't be explained. You've probably noticed that your presence alone is enough to trigger change in others. Not because you try, but because you are. You carry a frequency that disturbs illusions. And that's not always welcomed. In fact, it often makes you the target of projection, blame, even attack. People sense your depth and mistake it for danger. But the truth is, they're not afraid of you. They're afraid of what you reflect back at them, the parts they've buried, denied, or forgotten. This is your burden and your blessing. You are the wild card in the spiritual deck. The one who doesn't follow the rules because you were sent to rewrite them. And yes, that means you've often felt lost, misunderstood, even cursed. But look closer. Every hardship, every betrayal, every loss, it all carried a hidden instruction, a secret initiation. The universe was not punishing you. It was preparing you. Because only those who have been stripped of everything can carry the kind of power that doesn't corrupt. You were never meant to walk the path of the many. Your life has always been written in symbols, in silence, in scars. While others seek clarity, you've learned to move through the fog. While others seek light, you've learned to see in the dark. That's not weakness. That's evolution. And one day, you'll look back and realize that the very things that broke you were building you. Let's talk about what that really means. It means your pain gave you vision. Not the kind that sees with eyes, but the kind that knows with presence. You can feel when someone is lying, even if their words are perfect. You can sense when a space is heavy, even if it looks beautiful. You can read energies the way others read books. And no one taught you this, it was remembered. But this is soul memory, ancestral memory. The wisdom of lifetimes carved into your bones. That's why you've never fully fit in. Because you weren't sent here to fit. You were sent here to fracture the illusion. And that brings us to a truth most will never face. You were handpicked by the universe to carry something others cannot. And that's why your load has been heavier. That's why your nights have been darker. That's why your silence has been deeper. Because the universe is not interested in comfort, it's interested in transformation. But transformation is violent. It tears, or it burns, it unmakes. Until what remains is not the person you were, but the soul you've always been. 000. So ask yourself this. If every unbearable moment was actually the sharpening of your sword, are you ready to wield it? You don't need validation. You don't need permission. You need remembrance. You need to stop asking, why me? And start whispering, of course me. Because deep down, you've always known. You are not here to follow the light. You are here to become the light in the places where no one else dares to look. The unseen throne, why the universe handpicked you for the impossible. There is a moment in every dark, chosen one's life when the silent realization dawns, no one is coming to save you, because you were never meant to be saved. You were meant to awaken. That moment doesn't come with fireworks or applause. It comes in stillness, in solitude. Often after the last illusion has crumbled and you're left staring into the void with nothing but your breath and your will. And in that void, something ancient stirs. Something that was always there, hiding beneath the wounds, the doubts, the silence. It's your crown. But this isn't a crown forged in gold. It's forged in suffering, forged in truth. It's heavy because it carries responsibility. It doesn't glitter, it glows quietly from the inside out. And when you place it upon your head, not physically, but energetically, you don't become better than others. You simply become who you were always meant to be. The world doesn't need more perfect people. It doesn't need more spiritual influencers quoting enlightenment while avoiding their own shadows. But the world needs warriors of the soul, those who have walked through fire and returned with water. Those who have faced their inner chaos and emerged with a strange, sacred order. And those who don't just talk about transformation, they embody it. You are one of those. The final sign that proves you are a dark chosen one is this: you are no longer afraid to walk alone. Not because you enjoy loneliness, but because you have learned to find communion in solitude. You've realized that solitude is not just absence, it is presence. In the presence of your highest self, the presence of your guides in silence, and the presence of your purpose, whispering to you, always. And when others recoil from the silence, you enter it. Because that's where you meet the real you, the version of you that doesn't flinch, doesn't pretend, doesn't perform. The you that remembers. Because this isn't about ego, it's about essence. You're not here to dominate, you're here to illuminate, but not with the false light of pretense, with the raw, untamed radiance of someone who has seen the worst within themselves and chosen to love it anyway. You don't bring peace by avoiding war, you bring peace by ending the war within. And that makes you dangerous, not in the way the world fears, but in the way the false systems fear. Because when you awaken, you can't be manipulated. You can't be controlled. You can't be bought. You see through the illusions. And your presence alone becomes a revolution. So what now? Now, you stop hiding. You stop shrinking. You stop apologizing for your depth, your intensity, your silence, your truth. You stop trying to be palatable for people who haven't even tasted their own soul. You stop denying your darkness because someone told you that only light is holy. You remember the night sky holds more stars than any day ever will. And you rise, not with noise, but with knowing, with sacred defiance, with quiet power. Because this world is starving for authenticity, and you, yes, you are the meal it's forgotten, it's hungry for. So I leave you now with one final question, but sit with it. Let it echo in the chambers of your being. If you were chosen to awaken a sleeping world by embracing the very darkness others fear, will you rise to that calling, or will you deny the very reason your soul incarnated here? The choice has always been yours, but know this. The moment you stop pretending to be normal, the universe will stop pretending you're not divine. Welcome, Dark Chosen One. We've been waiting for you.